Welcome, fantasy football nerds. This is your host, Johnny Slokes. I'm here with my host, always to the right,
K-Mill. What's up? How you doing, folks?
It's been a while, but we're back in town. How are you guys doing today? If you guys haven't been on our website lately, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of articles up. We got some sleepers and some busts. We're sure going to add on to that as the time goes on. But before we get started, I want to answer a question that we got via email. We had Joshua. He's from Arizona. He has this question. I get to keep two keepers this year, and I already chosen Amari Cooper in the 5th round, and I get to pick between the following three. I need help making a decision. He's got Devontae Freeman in the 13th, Allen Robinson in the 7th, Cam Newton in the 11th. I think those are all very good values. What's your take on it, K-Mill?
Yeah, I think those are all really good values from where you can get them. I think that's extremely great, especially Robinson in the 5th. That's the one that sticks out to me the most.
7th.
Oh, 7th? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't reading it right. Even then, 7th rounder, that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, my take on this is like you got Freeman here in the 13th. That's a really good value, but I would have to say it'd be better since you're already keeping Amari Cooper. Go with Allen Robinson. You could stack at that wide receiver position, then you could pick either like maybe a Gronk in the 1st round, or you could take like a couple of running backs back to back, and you could really make your team that much better.
I agree wholeheartedly. You can grab a guy, a stud running back in the 1st round, and then your team's pretty well rounded already at the start.
So all unanimous Allen Robinson then?
Yeah, I would have to say Allen Robinson.
All right. Good luck, Josh. Hope you have a good year. Listen to us, and you will win a championship. All right. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to be going on over some noteworthy players. We're going to start with the AFC East. Tell me, Johnny, what players stick out from you from the Miami Dolphins?
Well, they just lost Lamar Miller, so I feel like they're going to be throwing a lot more. So I think the receivers are really going to stick out this year with Jarvis Landry underneath. And then you got Devontae Parker, who I think could become their clear number 1 receiver this year.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot to like about Devontae Parker, where he's at as a player. I think we're really poised for a breakout season by him. Another guy I like to look out for is Ajayi. I think he's going to have a breakout season as a running back, barring any injury concerns. I think he's another guy you want to look out for, especially if you can get him at really good value in your fantasy draft.
Right. See, what makes me nervous about Ajayi, though, is that the Dolphins, they keep trying to bring in these running backs and sign somebody. It makes me feel like they're just not completely 100% sold on them.
Yeah, I agree, too. There was the pursuit of C.J. Anderson, and obviously we know what happened with that. He went back to Denver. But I think there's a lot to like there. I don't know if the Dolphins organization fully trusts him, but I really think this guy deserves a chance, and I think he can actually give your fantasy team a really great boost if you can get him for good value and barring any setbacks for injuries.
I believe someone in their organization, I can't recall who, I'm sorry guys, but he said that he actually thinks that Ajayi was a better talent than Lamar Miller, and that's why they let him go, and they kept. That's why they drafted Ajayi.
Yeah, it's kind of curious to me why they actually want to pursue another running back. I really think Ajayi can be the guy.
I mean, I guess it's fair because they don't have anyone behind them. But
that's true.
I really think, though, that they're going to be centered around the pass, especially because now I think they have a little bit better of a schedule this year. I still think that Landry, he's going to get more receptions than Devontae Parker, but I think Parker's going to get more touchdowns.
I agree. I think I don't want to open up this can of worms too much, but I think really this year is going to be a make it or break it year for Ryan Tannehill. I think he's got the guys to do it. If he can't do anything with all these weapons, I really think that he's just not their guy.
Well, the GM was not happy with them picking Tannehill. The GM, he said his guy was Derek Carr, but they ended up drafting Tannehill. So that's what you have to say about him right there.
Exactly. All right, moving right along here. Johnny, what do you think about the Patriots? Who are you liking from that team?
Obviously, Tom Brady.
Well, that's the obvious one. All right, we'll get past that one. I don't even think we really need to jump into Tom Brady too much. Yeah. I mean, it kind of speaks for himself.
No, I really like PPR setting Edelman. I think he's a PPR monster.
PPR stud.
Same thing with Gronk. He gets a lot of receptions for a tight end. He's one of those guys that he's a tight end that doesn't need a touchdown to stay relevant in a game.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a guy that's just really going to get you a lot of points anywhere. Like, honestly, he's the guy that I like the most out of all the Patriots players, even Tom Brady. I think that if you can grab Gronk, you're in good position to grab him in the first round. I would take him.
It's always interesting about like where to take Gronk in a draft. Would you take him in the top 5?
I would say there's a possibility. This year is going to be a really strong draft. I don't think I would take him top 5, but depending on who went, I think I may use the number 5 on him.
I don't know if I'd pick him top 5, but I think if I was sitting at that 7, 8 spot, I would definitely consider taking him in the first round because he's not going to come back to you in the second.
Yeah, be on the eye for him. If you've got a late first rounder and you can snag Gronk, snag him.
I mean, he should be gone by the time he gets out of the top 10 anyway. So
yeah, I would think so.
Another guy I like on the Patriots is Dion Lewis. He is going at a value right now. So if you're in those MFL 10 leagues, best ball leagues, draft Dion Lewis right now while you still got a value because he's going currently in like the 4th, 5th round, which I think is great value, especially as a guy that could end up being an RB1 if he stays healthy, which is a big if because he's always hurt.
What the surprising thing is, too, and it's just because I'm looking at it right now, the SI rankings board that they have out right now, their most recent, has Melvin Gordon going ahead of Dion Lewis. Surprised about that?
I mean, I think a lot of people think that Gordon is going to break out a little bit better than he did last year because he's going to get more than 0 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And you got to think that last year their whole offense got hurt. But I still like Lewis better than Gordon.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that one too. Gordon's a guy that he's a huge question mark. We'll go more into him on San Diego.
Just put it this way. Dion Lewis is just like what Danny Woodhead is to the Chargers, except for he's more consistent.
I would have to agree with that statement. What do we? All right, so let's move right along. Let's go into.
I want to say this one more thing. Just keep an eye on, especially like preseason and early in the regular season, on Hogan. I think that he could become a nice little outside receiver for the Patriots because the simple fact he's not LaFell, he's not going to drop everything in sight.
Yeah, I like a lot about the Hogan thing. Just a huge. In fact, I even think he pushes Amendola further out of the picture. Honestly, I feel like he'll be Brady's number 2 target this year. Aside from, number three, aside from Edelman and Gronk.
Or maybe number 4 if Lewis is involved.
That's true.
Anyways, moving along.
All right, let's go to the New York Jets. Obviously, some questions whether Ryan Fitzmagic's going to be back or not. I don't know.
Like it.
I don't think so too. Reports coming out currently as of today were saying they're still not close. So we'll go right along with the noteworthy. So Brandon Marshall, obviously, he's going to be a guy that you're going to be wanting to target this.
I got him as a bust target this year.
Really, you think so?
Yeah, he's going into age 32. He doesn't have a definite quarterback to throw for him to receive from, and it's gonna be really hard for him to match his numbers that he got last year. I think expect 300 to 400 less yards, 4 less touchdowns. You'd be right around like 1,100 yards and 9 to 10 touchdowns is where I have him at.
Well, let me ask you this, because I wouldn't say he's high on my draft boards, but I have him at number 19. Do you think he's worth a second rounder?
That's currently where he's going. I always tend to try to draft someone other than him in the second round. I don't like him there.
Yeah, for me, he's kind of. It's going to depend on draft position for me. I don't know if I want to.
Just listen to. I'm just going to start listing some of these receivers that me and Kentucky Slotfest we both have behind Marshall. I want you to say who you'd rather have.
Okay.
All right. He has A.J. Green behind him. We both have Demaryius Thomas behind him. He has Keenan Allen behind him. We both have Sammy Watkins behind him. He has also Edelman, Nelson, Cooper, all behind Brandon Marshall.
I'd definitely rather have Keenan Allen.
I mean, you didn't even have Keenan Allen in your top 15 for wide receivers.
Yeah, I didn't. And that was a simple fact. Coming back from injury, he's a question mark. But he's one of my guys that, he's a guy that I actually want to target. and I'm looking at him maybe as a late second rounder, maybe early third round.
I think a lot of people are overlooking Keenan Allen, and I want to keep that on the hush-hush because I want to draft him in the third round. I'd love that.
Yeah, me too. I think we're both going to be fighting over him. Anybody else from the Jets that stands out to you?
I mean, Decker's still going to be Decker.
That's true.
You got Matt Forte, who I'm a little bit weary on.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that one. I'm
but
not too.
It seems like him and the coaches say that he could still be a 3-down back, but I don't know how much they're going to actually use Kerry Robinson. We know what Powell can do. I still think that Forte's a better receiver out of the backfield than Powell, but yeah, he is getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age. He's hitting the golden age as far as running backs go. Once they get in their 30s, they're not as effective. And I'm not saying that necessarily that would happen to Forte, but I'm saying that I can really, realistically, with the Jets' backfield, I can only see him being like maybe a first, second down back.
I mean, that's really what he's starting to, even towards the end of last year, what he was starting to turn into.
Yeah, exactly. So keep an eye on him. I think he's a guy you could probably, depending on where you get him, I think that he could be really, really good value for you.
I mean, I think I got him. I think I got him ranked at like. Where do I have him ranked at? I think it's not really that low. 16. I'm ranked at 16 at running back.
Yeah, currently the SI rankings I'm looking at, it's got him going at 33. I think that's for me. I think that's about where I would think.
33 overall.
33 overall. I think that's a little too high.
That's not too bad.
No, yeah,
it's like the back end of the third.
Yeah, back into the third. All right, what do you think about the Buffalo Bills? Who's to like on that team?
Well, this is a team that was the most heavy run team in the league last year. They got McCoy, he's kind of an injury concern. They also have Carlos Williams, who looks like he's a touchdown machine. I'm kind of a little bit down on McCoy.
Yeah, we don't know if he's going to get suspended next year at the start.
It appears like he's not going to, but even if he doesn't, he's 28 years old. He's got a lot of tread on the tires. He's gotten 1,195 touches over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with that
or
too.
Maybe the last 4 years, something like that. So that's a lot. That's a lot of fucking touches. You got the emergence of Carlos Williams coming up. The Bills also have the 27th hardest run strength of schedule this year, so that's also working against them.
Got a quick bold question for you. How much do you think? So I know there's been some trade talk with Tyrod Taylor. If he departs the team, how much will this affect other players in this team, like Sammy Watkins or even Shady McCoy?
Well, it affects Sammy Watkins immensely. To me, it almost make him like undraftable because that means who's going to be their quarterback? AJ Manuel. That's terrible.
Yeah,
nobody fucking wants him.
AJ Manuel. Yeah, that guy. I wouldn't want that.
He's a fucking hot diarrhea of shit.
Yeah, I think I agree. However, we'll go into this a little later because I know there's one team in particular that's interested in them, but I want to talk about the fit with the Denver Broncos. How you like that? If it happens, it's a bold statement / prediction.
I think Kubiak could like that kind of a quarterback in his system, kind of a guy that can roll out and do the play actions, base their offense more around the run. That's kind of what he wants. So
I think so too. We'll get more into that later. Anything else you want to go over on the Bills?
Charles Clay, man, where are you?
Yeah, Charles Clay, what happened to you, man?
Yeah, you disappeared on us last year.
I feel like I need to set up a tombstone. R.I.P.
Yeah, what's the next team on the list?
All right, we're going to head right into the AFC West and the team we were just talking about, the Denver Broncos. So, who better to start out with than Demaryius Thomas?
It's kind of all going to boil down to who's going to be their quarterback. Is it going to be their third stringer? Is it going to be Sanchez? Is it going to be Kaepernick? Is it going to be Taylor? I don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows right now, and that's why Demaryius is so much of a question mark. I mean,
I'll tell you this right now, though. If Kaepernick is Denver's quarterback, I want nothing to do with Sanders or Demaryius Thomas. That fucking guy can't throw worth a shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, as a Denver fan, I don't know how I feel about Kaepernick. I think I would feel way more comfortable Tyrod Taylor maybe coming in. Hell, I honestly think at this point I'd even feel more comfortable Sanchez being our starting quarterback. I don't know. But what do you think about the running back situation? Obviously, we got the new $18 million man, C.J. Anderson. What do you think? What do you guys say about him?
I feel like that Denver, no matter who their quarterback's going to be this year, they're going to try and center their offense around the run. That's why they paid C.J. Anderson the way they did. I also heard that they're close on contract talks with Hillman, so they might bring him back. So that kind of sucks for fantasy owners, but good for them.
Yeah, that's a fantasy disclaimer right there. I would stay away from Hillman. I think that's going to be a big bust alert. Don't draft him. You probably get him late, but I would stay away from him.
I mean, Anderson, where he's going in the draft, he's the perfect running back to take. If say you're going with like a bunch of receivers in the first and second, and then you're taking maybe like a tight end in the third round or something like along those lines, he's that perfect running back you could take a chance on in like the fourth round.
I agree. So out of the ones they have on contract right now, who do you like best? Mark Sanchez or Trevor Siemian? I know we don't know too much about him.
You know, Kubiak was saying that he really likes Siemian. He likes what he can do. He's been around with the team. He already knows the offense.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting quarterback situation to watch out of camp this year. Whether Denver brings another arm or two. Hell, there was even some talks of bringing Tebow back, which I think is complete lunacy. But hey, let them have their fun. All right, so let's go to the next team on the list. San Diego Chargers. Who are you targeting out of this team? Any noteworthy players?
Definitely not Keenan Allen.
Nice way to keep that a secret.
Yeah, but no, even I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on even a Phillip Rivers because he's kind of an older guy, but he's still putting up some numbers. Although he kind of always seems to kind of tail off at the end of or towards the second half of the season. So, I mean, he could even be a guy, say you have him for like 4 or 5 weeks and you can sell him high while he's hot.
Exactly, yeah. I think he's a guy that I would be looking to maybe move. If he's on a hot streak, you can get a lot for him. That's also one of the things I want to touch on just briefly is that currently I'm exploring strategies. I'm going to write an article coming out soon about why it might be better to stream quarterbacks week to week and just center your team around, running backs and receivers and other value positions.
We're also going to during the season, each week we're both going to pick a guy to stream, and we're going to tally up our points at the end of the year and see if we can stream a quarterback one.
That could work. And that's what I'm thinking. If you grab a guy like Phillip Rivers and he's hot, and then you got a guy who just is coming back out of a quarterback injury on his team, like a catastrophic injury to his team, you can sell Rivers really high to him, take a bunch of his nice pieces, and he gets a quarterback, but you get you just add to your already full arsenal of weapons on your team. Another guy I'm looking at too on this list is, I know he's getting up there in age. We got potentially the emergence of Melvin Gordon, but Danny Woodhead, he's the nickel and dimer king. You can't ever count him out.
He was the number 3 running back in PPR last year.
I know, he was a PPR monster last year. The only disclaimer I got to put on Woodhead is that he's a lot, and I don't want to directly compare him, so I don't want to get any criticism for directly comparing him, but he's a lot like a Tavon Austin. It's hard to predict when he's really going to have a great game.
He's inconsistent at best. I agree.
Exactly. So if you do play him or start him, you're taking a huge risk with Woodhead. You can either get nothing, you get a huge goose egg, or you can get fucking 30 points. I think there was one game where I played him last year and he got me 40 points.
I mean, I think it was like week 14 or 15. He had 4 touchdowns in one game.
Yeah. I started him that game. That was amazing for my team.
On the other end of the spectrum, how do you feel about Melvin Gordon?
He's a guy that I don't trust at all. Honestly, there's a lot of people getting really high on him. I don't really want to even go there with Melvin Gordon. He's a guy that I'm not going to take personally unless I get some pretty good value for him. And personally, I think somebody's going to take him sooner than me. What about you, Johnny?
I know it's really early, but I've been doing a lot of mock drafts, and there hasn't been a single mock draft where I said, no, man, that's a really good spot for him.
All right. So moving right along to Kansas City, really kind of barren for fantasy purposes. Obviously, the biggest one, Jamal Charles. He's a guy I think I'm going to get some flack for this. I got him pretty low on my list. I did my 25 overall recently.
You actually got him higher than I do, and I feel like I'm higher on Charles than you.
Really? Yeah. See, I got him. I have him at number 23. What do you have him at, Johnny?
Well, you got him as your 9th best running back.
Mm-hmm.
I have him as my 11th best running back.
Wow. Yeah. I think though, as far as
I think I might be a little bit low on him though, because I feel like I'm a little bit too high on Freeman and Langford and maybe Rawls even.
Yeah.
I think I could see myself putting Charles in front of those three.
Yeah, I think I'm a little too high on Rawls too. Like I said, these are our way too early rankings. Obviously going to get revised a lot, but right now I have him as my number 23. I think that's going to be great value for him if you can get him there. I think somebody's going to be stupid enough to take him before you. But here's my thing.
I've been seeing him go at the tail end of the first and early second.
Yeah, and if you can take him early second, I would snag him. Quality running back. It was something Johnny was pointing out to me yesterday. He's the guy that carries a huge injury risk, and that's why I think I have him so low. But as Johnny was pointing out yesterday, he's a guy that can be a top 5 back, like, for the year.
If he stays healthy, he will be a top 5 back.
If he stays healthy, he will be a top 5 back. So you're drafting with risk, but if it pans out, it could be a potential changer for your team.
I was telling you about this. I mean, I'm not going to mention the other guy's name right now, maybe later, but Charles, he's one of those guys, like, if I was to take him in a draft, I wouldn't be drafting him to have him on my team. I'd be drafting him to trade him away to someone who really loves him, because you can get a lot of value back for him if that person really wants to have Charles on their team because of what he does represent.
I actually like that you brought that up, Johnny, because that's another reason why I'm even thinking that a guy like Devonta Freeman, a guy I'm not personally high on myself, I really think I know we've been pretty rough on him on the show, but he's a guy that, if I can get him for good value, I'll take him and use him as trade bait, because I'm not necessarily looking at starting him, but I know that there's somebody out there who thinks that he's going to be absolutely fantastic this year, and you can rip him off. You can get like 3 quality players for him.
Yeah, if they're a chump, you can get some good value off them.
Oh yeah, so always keep an eye out for that. If you can get him at good value and you don't necessarily want to start him, just trade him away. But let's get back on topic here. Jeremy Maclin. Anything you got to add on Jeremy Maclin?
You know what? He was really coming along in the second half of the last season. It's where he started putting up some good numbers when Alex Smith stopped being a chicken shit and throwing the ball down the field. Like, he was putting up some good numbers.
Yeah, Alex Smith really got his balls back.
It'll be interesting to see if they keep that same strategy going into next year. They probably won't, because they'll have Charles back. They'll probably focus more around the run. But he is really their only viable option other than Travis Kelce. So I think he's going right where he should be going right now in drafts, like 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, I think you grab him in the 4th or the 5th, you're getting pretty good value for him. So I think that's right where he needs to be. I don't see him. He's not in that top tier. I think he's like just a middle of the road receiver as far as fantasy purposes go.
Where do you think he'll end up finishing in terms of wide receivers?
I'm going to make a bold statement. And I'm going to say that he finishes right outside the top 10. I think number 12 is where I like him.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Maclin's actually a guy I'm keeping my eye on. If you guys want good value for a receiver, he's a guy to keep an eye on. Right? I think if you can get him in the 4th or the 5th, that's great.
I got him right now at number 19.
Wow.
So I think I could see him finishing like outside the top 15. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right around where I think him, but I'm going a little bit higher than I expect him.
You could almost see him as an RB or wide receiver 1 then.
I think he is personally. He's it's like those teams where you get the RB ones or the WR ones. It's like he's the one man show there aside from Jamal Charles. And think if Jamal Charles gets injured again, which I think he will, I think that Jeremy Maclin could be the biggest show in town. Obviously Charkandrick West is in the fold too. You got Spencer Ware, but as far as receiving goes, I mean, really it's Jeremy Maclin that's a huge drop off.
Is he a 5-star man?
I think he's a 5-star.
5-star man.
5-star man. All right, so Going into fantasy hotbed right now, the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, everyone's talking about the Oakland Raiders in fantasy.
So there's a lot of people to talk about here. Who do you personally like the most on this team, Johnny?
Well, I'm probably going to say the most obvious one because everyone's so high on him right now is Amari Cooper. I'm not as high on him as most people are. Maybe I should be. But yeah, I think he's probably going to, outside of the quarterback, I think he's probably going to be the top performer for that team.
Where do you see him finishing overall as far as receivers go?
See, a lot of people have him as a wide receiver 1. I have him as just outside the wide receiver 1 as a wide receiver 2. Probably, I think he's like borderline though. He'll be in the top 15 when it's all said and done.
Think so? Think any chance of him being in the top 10 this year?
I mean, obviously, yeah, because he's going to improve off of his game last year. There's so many good receivers. Like it's hard to envision him as a top 10 receiver.
This year is just it's a plethora. Like I mean, you go in the first round and
like I have him at number 20, but there's a lot of I think I'm too low on him in my original rankings.
Yeah, I think I'm a little too low on him as well. I think I really need to start looking at him.
But there's a lot of guys in front of him that I would have trouble putting him in front of them.
Right, and I think that's the problem with Amari Cooper is that there's just too many good receivers. I don't know. He's a guy that I'm decently high on. I think though that personally for me, I'm not. I think people are going to take him way too early.
90 catches, 1,200 yards, and like 8 touchdowns.
I think that's right around where he'll finish. So then let's talk about the guy opposite to him, Crabtree. What do you think about Crabtree?
It's very possible for him to do what he did last year, but if you think about this from a logical standpoint, if Amari Cooper takes that next step up and he demands more targets, more yards, more touchdowns, in order for Crabtree to maintain what he did last year, that would mean that Derek Carr would have to elevate his game, which is very plausible. It could happen.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's like, I
think that Crabtree is a nice middle round wide receiver.
I think so too. I think he'll definitely get his value.
I think I have him more as a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think the Oakland Raiders, as far as receivers go, I think it's like the Highlander movie. There can only be one. So, and I think that one guy is going to be Amari Cooper, barring any injury. I think if anything does happen to Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree is a guy if he's not on a team, you want to snag him immediately because he's immediately elevated to a wide receiver 1.
And then we haven't touched on Derek Carr yet.
Oh man, Derek Carr, he's a guy I'm really high on going into next year. He's a guy a lot of people are going to be targeting their Cam Newtons, maybe even their Blake Bortles. He's a guy that's probably going to go pretty high too, but I feel like he's the best out of the bunch.
He's going like 7th round right now. I got him as one. If you guys read my sleepers and bust article, he is one of my sleeping candidates. I don't really necessarily he's a sleeper, but he's definitely a guy I think can break out next year and really come together under his own.
Really, yeah, I totally agree. I hate the Raiders, but I think Derek Carr is going to be one of these really exciting guys in the league to watch for years and years to come.
Some interesting numbers about him last year. There was 11 games last year where he had 2 or more touchdowns, and then there was 5 games where he had 3 or more touchdowns. He tends to make really smart throws. He's not afraid to take shots down the field. So I think that he's really going to have a great season next year.
Well said, Johnny. Moving right along, we're going to go to the AFC North, and I think we'll go to the...
Actually, let's have a drop. We'll take a break, and then we'll pick up right from there.
All right, sounds good.
Nancy sees me coming out of the shower and decides to come on to me. I'm looking good. Got a luscious V of hair going from my chest tubes down to my ball throat. She takes a quick look at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I've had the old bull, now I want the young calf." And she grabs me by the wings.
Man, would you ever try to hook up with one of your dad's girlfriends?
Thank God my parents are still married.
Oh, see, not mine. I was a bastard child.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's get into it.
AFC North.
AFC North, yeah.
Finish up with our AFC today. We'll go into the Factory of Sadness. the one and only Cleveland Browns. I really this is a barren wasteland as far as fantasy talent goes. The only one I can even see possibly, producing this year is Gary Barnidge. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, this place is a big pile of shittery fucks. You got Gary Barnidge. He's old as shit. He's I think he's good. I think he's 30, turning 31. He's a journeyman tight end that had a fluky season, in my opinion.
You don't think he can replicate what he did last year?
I'm a guy that says you got to build a good track record with me for me to like you, and he doesn't have one.
That's true. Yeah.
But it seemed like he was a nice big target, but who's going to be throwing the ball? RG3, he kind of sucks.
Yeah.
McCown, he's not that good either. He says he's not going to give up his starting job, but I don't think it's up to him really. Yeah.
Well, McCown, I think, is a guy that's going to get traded before the draft or during the draft. I think RG3. He could. This team is just such a huge question mark. I think the best strategy is just to stay away from them altogether.
Would you even stay away from the Crow?
Oh, Crowell? Yeah, I think so. Unless I can get him for good value, I think that I'm staying away from this team just altogether. It's a wasteland.
Shane G. Harris didn't stay away from the Crow.
Yeah.
He won 2 games.
And that's how you lose your fantasy football league, folks.
No, I think it had more to do with that. But anyways, let's just skip over the Browns, please.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about them. I'm actually thinking I'm getting physically sick from talking about them.
Actually, I think I have to take the Browns to the Super Bowl.
All right.
Sticky ass dump.
All right, and then we're gonna go to possibly the best team to draft from this year, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. What can't you say about this team? You got an RB1 in Bell. You got Antonio Brown, and you got Big Ben.
Before we get talking about the Steelers, what do you think the effect of Montavious Bryant being suspended for a whole year? Do you think it has an effect on their offense at all?
Oh, I think so too. I think this is honestly, his suspension, it cements why Brown is going to be the unanimous number 1 pick, because he's now a one-pony show, and barring any injuries, this guy's going to be an absolute fantasy monster for your team. If you have the number 1 overall pick and you don't pick Antonio Brown, you are a fool.
I think that losing Montavious Bryant is a serious blow to an element of their game. They did sign Ladarius Green, which I think will help out a little bit with the vertical seams up the middle.
Yeah, that's a huge sleeper right there.
And if you look at Antonio Brown's stats for all the games that he played with Big Ben last year, if he would have played a 16-game season at that pace, he would have had over 2,000 yards receiving.
Yeah, that's unreal.
And 150 catches.
Unreal.
I'm not saying that's what he's going to get this year, guys. Don't fucking read into my words too much about that, but I'm saying he should be your number 1 overall pick.
Now let's go into the guy that, a lot of people, well, it's kind of mixed what I'm getting here, but the guy that's I guess his Brown's best threat of taking his number 1 overall in a lot of fantasy drafts away, Le'Veon Bell. Johnny, just reason with me here. Is there any way that you would take Bell over Brown with the number 1 overall?
No, there's actually several other players, but there's at least 3 or 4 other players that I could see myself taking over Bell.
Bold statement there.
I have him. I do have him in my top. I probably do have him in my overall top 5. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, there's at least 4 players that I would take over him.
Yeah, I think if I'm sitting at the draft, personally, don't mince my words here. Bell, I have him as my number 1 running back this year, no doubt about that. But a guy like I think I would take a Todd Gurley or a David Johnson before I take Le'Veon Bell, just because they don't carry as much injury concern.
All right, let's play a game real fast.
All right. I love games.
So, obviously you already said you'd take Brown over him. Would you take Julio Jones over Le'Veon Bell?
No, I'd take Le'Veon Bell.
Would you take Odell Beckham over Le'Veon Bell?
No, I'd still take Le'Veon Bell.
Would you take Adrian Peterson over Le'Veon Bell?
No.
Would you take Todd Gurley over Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Would you take Derek Johnson over Le'Veon Bell?
David Johnson? Yes.
Yeah.
I would take David Johnson. Those are honestly the only two players I think, consider taking over Le'Veon Bell. Like I said, if I'm sitting at number 2 and Antonio Brown already went off the board and you got Le'Veon Bell, I mean, there's a lot to love about that pick. But I think Todd Gurley last year, if anything, he proved that he was a durable back. Obviously, any running back you draft this year is going to carry a lot of risk, but
I would probably take Brown and Julio, and maybe Todd Gurley. I'd probably have Bell like 3 or 4 though.
Yeah. See, I mean, like I just said, there's only 2 players to take above him because unless I can get Antonio Brown with the number 1, I mean, more than likely I'm going to end up taking a running back if I'm drafted in early first round.
And I think there's even some. It really just depends on like what kind of team are you building. Are you trying to build a team that's like wide receiver heavy? Or are you trying to be more traditional and take a running back first? I
mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, personally, I think I'm more of a running back first type of guy. But Antonio Brown, I mean, is just he's a guy next year that, you know, I don't see anybody outproducing Antonio Brown next year. I mean, he's a guy. If you have the number 1 overall pick, you need to take him.
Just look at Brown like this way. At his floor, he's still like a top 5 receiver.
Exactly.
That's him being at his absolute worst. Just think about last year. He was playing fucking Michael Vick and Landry Jones for a portion of the year, and he still ended up as like the number 1 or 2 receiver in the league.
Well, what about his quarterback? Where do you see Big Ben finishing as far as quarterbacks go at the end of the season?
Anywhere from the top 5 to the top 30.
I mean, you're actually onto something there because he carries a lot of injury concern.
No, I was reading a report on Big Ben. I guess he's lost so far 15 pounds this offseason. He's trying to reduce his weight so he doesn't have as much strain on his knees and joints, so it can reduce injury a little bit.
Yeah, I saw a video of him warming up last year before a game, and I was like, wow, Ben let himself go, and it's really good to see him getting in shape. For me, he still carries a little bit of injury risk, but yeah, I mean, no doubt this guy's going to be a top 10er this year, or at least in my mind.
He was a guy that I drafted last year with hopes and aspirations that he would finish in the top 5. He ended up finishing number 19, which is still in front of Matt Ryan.
out of 100%, what do you say the chances are that Le'Veon Bell stays healthy for a full season next year?
I mean, I could still see him missing a couple of games.
Really? Do you think he'll have another season-ending injury?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he's had some rough luck in the past, but those are some concerning injuries. I will give him that.
All right. Anything else you got to say about the Steelers, Johnny?
Yeah. Nobody draft Ladarius Green.
Yeah, he's one of our big sleepers next year.
He's a terrible player.
Yeah, nice try, man.
But I do have a really, really deep sleeper. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but he's a really, really deep sleeper, is the speedster Sammy Coates. I think he's no Montavious Bryant, but he possesses that same speed aspect to his game. So keep an eye out for him.
Do you think any chance that he moves over Wheaton on the depth chart to get to number 2?
Not at all. He might move in front of Darius Bay, though.
That could happen too. He's another speedy guy. So moving into the guys I like to call Sleeper Central, the Baltimore Ravens next year. I mean, so you got a guy. I know you want to talk about him, Johnny. So why don't you just jump right into it, Joe Flacco?
Yeah, guys. You guys can call me crazy. You can say I don't know shit, but I'm gonna say this: Joe Flacco is my sleeper at quarterback this year. I say he creeps up into the top 15 in quarterbacks.
Wow, that's an incredibly bold statement.
And here's why: he gets to play he has a really good schedule. On the damn fly. He plays a really good schedule this year. He plays the NFC East he's playing Philly and Washington at home. He plays the Jaguars on the road. He gets to play the shitty-ass Browns twice. And the Ravens proved they can't stop the pass last year. So they're going to have to pass the ball to stay in the game. They threw for a record or not record, but they threw, I think it was 675 times last year.
Wow.
Because they're always playing from behind.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh's not really good at stopping the pass either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they definitely need to work on their secondary. Joe Flacco, for me, he's a guy, I agree with you on some parts of that, Johnny. He's another guy for me. He could be that sleeper guy. I really think that a lot of people are going to sleep on him. I think a lot of people are going to sleep on Stafford too, but we'll get into that later.
I just think you don't want him as your number one quarterback, but why not have him as your backup quarterback if you choose to go that route? You can get him in like the last round.
Oh yeah.
Or you can just pick him up off the waivers.
Yeah, exactly. He's a guy that could potentially go undrafted even. So there's that, and if you can just pick him up after the draft, I would just do that.
You could have a stroke of luck like Fitzpatrick did last year.
Exactly. You never know, but keep an eye on Joe Flacco. He could be that guy for your team.
Is there anybody else from this team that you want to mention?
Well, I think while we're on the subject of sleepers, I think Forset's a guy coming off of a season-ending injury last year with his broken arm. I think he's a guy that a lot of people aren't going to be very high on next year. I think that you can get him for really good value. Also, while I'm on the subject, anything else you want to say about Forset?
Yeah, he's an older guy. We get it. He's like 31, 32 years old. He's an older guy, but he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tire. I think 2014 was the only season where he got more than 200 carries in a season. So he's got a lot of tread left on that tire.
Yeah,
he's a guy that's still good at catching the ball in the backfield. Which he gets a lot of catches out of the backfield, but they don't really go for a whole lot of yardage. So keep that in mind too. You can get him in like the 8th round. Yeah,
you can get him in the 8th round or late 7th. He's a guy. He's very work. What's the word here? He's a very workload dependent running back, and that's all I'm going to say about him.
I think he'll share a little bit of work with Allen this year, though.
Yeah, I agree. What are the chances that Steve Smith has a good year this year?
I'm not really expecting a whole lot out of him. I know some people are expecting him to come back and be fine. I know he was like a top 5 receiver before he went out, but an Achilles injury at that age, it doesn't really bode too well for him. He's gonna lose a lot of speed and burst and ability to get open. I'm not really expecting a whole lot out of him.
Yeah, he's same for the exact same red flags that you just mentioned. I think age is going to be the biggest thing. Nobody gets better with age. So
I think the real question is who's going to step up between Kamar Aiken and Perriman.
I think Perriman's a huge sleeper in my opinion. I think that he's a guy you want to keep an eye out for.
To me, Aiken, he's a decent little player, but I think he's just average at best. We don't really know what Perriman's about because he was out all last year. From what I know, he's nothing special, but he's better than what they have else on the roster. So.
The only thing I can say about Kamar Aiken is you're absolutely right, Johnny. He just doesn't have that wow factor. There's nothing that makes him jump off the page to me and go, I need this guy on my team.
He's a guy I picked up. I think I even played him once last year in my NFL league, but
The last thing I'm going to say is, Perriman's one of my top sleepers for next year. I think he could have possibly a breakout campaign, especially if Steve Smith has another season-ending injury. I'm looking for Bernard Perriman to step up. Anything else you got to say about the Ravens?
Yeah, I don't like any of their tight ends this year.
Yeah, I think
it's too crowded back there.
I think re-signing Pitta was a huge mistake. I personally would have just cut him, but they made the mistake of guaranteeing him way too much money off the get-go, so they had to restructure.
Well, and they also have Crockett Gilmore. They also got Max McWilliams. They signed Ben Watson.
I think it's just going to be a shit show back there.
I don't think any of those guys are draftable, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and even think about this. Even if they run 2 tight end sets, it's too many Chiefs, not enough Indians.
How many times in history has a 2 tight end set worked for fantasy football? Besides Gronk and Hernandez, I can't think of any others.
Yeah, I think that's it. All right, so we'll leave it at that for the Ravens, but then we'll go to another fantasy hotbed here, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals. Who jumps off the page for you, Johnny?
Well, Andy Dalton, he was looking really good last year before he broke his thumb. It appears like he's fully healthy and ready to go. He's going right around like the 7th, 8th round right now. I think that he could be a guy that could climb into the top 10 if he has the same kind of season he did last year. The question is, can he have the same season as last year? He's losing 2 receivers. They replaced him with a fucking bum in LaFell.
Yeah,
He's got AJ Green. He's got Eifert's. I think he'll be all right.
Where do you see him finishing in the span of quarterbacks this season?
I think I have him like right there at 12. Let me double check that on my papers real fast. I believe I do have him at 12. Yeah, me and Kentucky Slotfest both have him at 12.
Wow, that's pretty good for a quarterback. Anyways, moving right along, I think the guy that I'm keeping my eyes out on this team is I personally, I think me and Johnny kind of disagree here. I'm staying away from this backfield. I think if you're going to take one of the backs from that team, I take Bernard because you can get him later. Hill's just the guy I just want to stay away from altogether. But the guy I'm really looking at next year is AJ Green. I think he's going to have another spectacular season. I think he's going to be even better than he was last year. One of the guys I'm actually targeting, if I end up in the first round and I pick a running back and I try to go running back heavy, he's a guy I think I can get a little later, maybe in the second round, and add some punch to my team.
You did touch on a point that I was going to bring up about the running back situation. This goes for pretty much any team that utilizes a 2-back system. Is if you're not sure like who to get normally, you can just take the back that's going to be going later in the draft, and usually you'll get better value for them. That's why me and K-Mill are both on the same page of taking Bernard over Hill. Although I don't think Hill's going to be that bad. I think he's going to be very similar to what he did last year.
Yeah, he'll have a slow start, and then he'll turn up towards the end of the season.
And I think people are starting to catch on, and I think that he might get drafted accordingly. Other than last year when he was getting drafted like the second round, I think he'll end up going a little bit later, like the 4th or 5th round this year.
That's where I'd like him to go next year.
Like that's like right around my threshold, Rob. If I am looking for a running back and he's there, I could probably take him there.
Yeah, and you know who I'm chomping at the bit to talk about, and I know you are, Johnny. Tyler Eifert. Better or worse than he was last season?
You know, I was a little bit concerned about his targets last year because he didn't. Out of all the top tight ends last year, he had the least amount of targets, least amount of catches, but the most touchdowns, and that's always a red flag. But the fact that they lost 2 receivers now, maybe there's some hope for that he'll be more of like a guy that can move the chains for him a little bit because they need that guy. I mean, they got AJ Green, and then they got who? You know, so I think
yeah, exactly.
I got Tyler Eifert as my 5th best tight end right now.
I think that's right around where I have him too. I think though, just going to touch on what you were saying though right there. I think he will move the chains. I think that we're going to see a really big regression as far as touchdowns go next year. But I think that his yards total, his total reception yards is going to go up.
Where would you draft Eifert at?
That is a tough question. I'm thinking as far as value goes, I'm looking in the 3rd round.
See, that's a lot earlier than I would take him.
Really?
I'd probably be looking for him more in like the 5th round.
Really? I think Eifert is a guy. If you're wanting a quality tight end next year, and don't mince my words here, I think that Tyler Eifert is a guy that you're going to want to have on your team because he's a guy, you know. In most fantasy leagues, there's only one tight end on your entire team, and I think he's a guy that, if he can stay healthy all year, will be a constant producer for your team.
Would you rather have Eifert or Olsen?
That is a really tough question. I think I would just like to have Olsen just because he's more involved with the offense. I mean, he's Cam Newton's favorite target. So,
would you rather have Eifert or Delaney Walker?
I think I'd rather have Eifert than Delaney Walker.
Would you rather have Eifert or Jordan Reed?
Jordan Reed.
Okay.
I think we're on the same page there. Anything else you got to say about these rowdy Bengals?
They really like to bang holes. That's all. What's next?
All right, we're going to talk about the AFC South now.
Wow, we already ran through the North.
Yeah, we got to the North pretty quickly. Well, I mean, we didn't even talk about the Browns, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The shitty Browns.
Yeah. All right, so AFC South, let's start off with another fantasy hotbed here, one that I'm really looking at next year to be producers on our teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tell me, Johnny, who do you like the most on that team?
The obvious answer is Allen Robinson, but if we're going to just take an unobvious answer, it's that's really the only guy I really like on that team, to be honest.
Really? You don't like Blake Bortles? You don't like Allen Hurns?
I just think that Hurns' numbers are going to come down. I think that Blake is going to come crashing to reality. Just the simple fact that last year the Jaguars only had 5 rushing touchdowns. That number, and only 3 of them came from the running back position. That number can only go up. So that means that those touchdowns got to go somewhere because they don't even score a lot of points. Just beyond popular belief, they don't score a whole lot of points.
Well, then here's my bold question here. Do you think T.J. Yeldon's poised for a breakout year next year?
No.
No?
Yeah, they signed Chris Ivory, and that just fucks everything up for the running back position.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise. In real life sense, it makes sense, I guess, but fantasy-wise, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I really hate that. It's making me want to stay away from T.J. Yeldon.
This is another one of those 2-back systems where I'd probably end up drafting Ivory over Yeldon. Even though Yeldon's going to end up going a lot sooner, I'd probably just wait and take Ivory.
Yeah, if you can get Ivory later, I think that I would take him.
I just got to think that Ivory's going to get some of those goal line touchdowns, and it's going to translate into less touchdowns for Blake Bortles, less touchdowns for Hurns, less touchdowns for Robinson.
So I know you were talking about this earlier as far as revisiting Allen Robinson here. I know you were saying something about his touchdown totals are going to go down, but you think his reception yards total is going to go up.
No, I don't really think it's going to go up. I think it might go down a little bit or stay the same. I could see him with a good 85 catches for 1,300 yards and 9 to 10 touchdowns. That's still good. That's still really good production.
Oh yeah. He's a guy that I'm targeting.
I think Hurns his numbers are going to go down a lot though.
I think so.
It's not even a knock on his talent. I think he's a good talent. I just someone's numbers are going to get drastically changed if they start running the ball more.
Well, yeah, and you got to think it's too many Chiefs, not enough Indians on that team. So,
and we haven't even put Julius Thomas in the equation. He's a guy that was injured for the first half of the season, and second half of the season he started getting some red zone looks as well. So I'm saying these guys' numbers are going to be a little bit inflated from last year. I think they're going to be more realistic next year. Yeah,
I think actually Julius Thomas is a guy I'm looking at as a sleeper too. I think a lot of people are going to overlook him with Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, Blake Bortles, Chris Ivory. I think that on this team he's going to fall through the cracks, and I think that you could probably get him for some great value later in the draft.
That's well said.
All right, so anything else you got on the Jags, Johnny?
No.
All right, move right on. Okay, so we got the Colts, who were a huge disappointment last year, except for Mr. Durable Frank Gore. Johnny, Luck, I mean, great guy, but terrible season last year, plagued by injuries. Where do you see him as far as the top tier of quarterbacks this year?
I have him as my number 4 quarterback this year. Wow. I'm not shying away from him. Granted, I wasn't burnt by him last year either, so I can say this. But I think he'll bounce back and have a better season. I mean, obviously, he's not going to get an injury to his kidney again, so I think he'll be all right in that department.
Well, Chuck Pagano said he wants Andrew Luck to be smarter about taking shots and stuff like that, and I think last year he learned his lesson.
Well, he was actually with some baseball players, and they were trying to teach him how to slide, so...
I think that can only help him in the long run because, yeah, he was kind of running around like he was Superman last year, taking hits left and right, and then I think he learned his lesson coming up against that nasty Denver defense.
Do you think that Andrew Luck is an elite quarterback?
Absolutely.
I was starting to think he was getting there. I don't know. Maybe he's just a very good quarterback.
I don't know. I think he's absolutely an elite quarterback. I think I think he just suffered his sophomore slump later than a lot of quarterbacks experience it. They usually get it in the second year. I think he just had the third year slump.
Even when he threw for like 4,700 yards, he still had like 16 interceptions or something like that.
Yeah, I think he needs
to cut down and make some smarter decisions.
Yeah, I think he needs to be less erratic. But he's a guy that you can always, you look at him, never count him out of a game. He's a guy where, he can throw 4 interceptions in a game. Normally that'd be a death sentence for your team, but he will bring your team back from the brink of death. And
he'll absolutely have a bounce back season, and I think he's worth at least like a third or fourth.
Oh yeah, I think he's worth a third or fourth definitely. T.Y. Hilton, as far as the plethora of receivers this year, what do you think about him?
I think he's another guy that's going to have a bounce back year. He had to play most of last year without luck, and that really hurt his deep ball ability because Hasselbeck, he ain't getting the ball deep to him. And I think that he's gonna. I think he'll be a wide receiver too. I have him inside my top 20, I believe.
What round do you see him going in?
Probably like the 4th round.
I think that'd be great value for him.
I have my number 18 overall at wide receiver.
Now he's a guy that I counted out last year. I'm going to go ahead and count him out again this year, just because he's on the wrong side of 30. Frank Gore. What do you think about? What do you got to say about him, Johnny?
And the guy's a fucking warrior, man.
Yeah.
He really didn't have a good season last year. He was still like a top 12 running back, but that's only because he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I can say about him is that he didn't get hurt. Well, I will take that back. He was hurt. He just played through injuries.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he's durable.
Last year, to be an RB1, all you had to do is play the majority of your games, and you were an RB1.
Exactly. And he was a guy that played through those. That dude's he's a straight up stud.
He was a guy, he averaged only 3.7 yards a carry last year, and I don't see that getting any better. I don't see it getting any worse, really. I could see him doing the same. They still haven't brought in anybody else for help, so you got to think that he's going to be the guy again unless they draft somebody kind of high.
Yeah,
really got to see what they're going to do in the draft in the next following weeks here.
I know it's a bold prediction here, but what if say the Texans brought in somebody like not the Texans. I kind of gave it away there. But what if they bring in somebody like Arian Foster to
That could very well be something that could happen, and honestly, I think that would help Gore out.
Yeah, I think so too. You get Arian Foster.
Foster could be the receiving back,
mm-hmm. And then look, it works for both parties too, because we all know how injury-prone Arian Foster is. And then you got, Gore right in the back there. Bam.
I'm pretty sure that has been a rumor of a landing spot for Foster too.
Yeah, I've heard Denver. I've heard there.
I heard Miami.
Yeah, I heard Miami too. I think the problem nobody signed him yet is because he's still working through getting back from his injury. So we'll see what happens on that end. And another guy that you wanted to talk about specifically, Johnny, Dwayne Allen.
I think he could be a sleeper guy at tight end. I think that they signed him. They gave him starter money. He's a guy that could never really stay on the field because he's always hurt. I think he missed like a majority of last year. If he stays healthy, he could be a top 10 tight end.
Really? Wow, that is a very bold statement right there. I would have to disagree with you on that one, strictly because I think Allen's a little pussy bitch, and I think that I just don't even want to. I just want to stay away from him. He's a bitch, and I think it was Aqib Talib last year that after he poked his eye, he said to the refs that he was on the field acting like he had been run over by 10 cars. So I think this guy's a pussy. I don't want to touch him. Injury prone. Just he's got too many question marks for me. I'm just staying away.
I mean, you got to think about you can get him at the very end of the draft, and to me, it makes sense to draft him at the very end of the draft because what risk are you losing? If he doesn't pan out, you can always just drop him.
That's true.
You're not really losing anything.
That's true. If you get him late, like where he's probably going to go, or maybe even not at all, either he's a boomer bust guy in my opinion for this season. That's really all I got on the Colts. Anything else you got to add, Johnny?
I kind of want to touch on. Just want to know your opinion real fast about these two guys, as Moncrief and Philip Dorsett. Do you think that they're going to have any fantasy relevance this year?
I think it's a make it or break it year for Dorsett. A lot of people last year were pegging him as a possible sleeper, maybe breakout last year. Didn't end up panning out. I think it had a lot to do with, it was a ripple effect from Andrew Luck's injury. Moncrief's a guy. I think he's definitely wide receiver 3. He's got wide receiver 3 stuff. He's a guy you're obviously going to be able to get pretty late, not like super late, but like right in the middle of the draft.
I see him going like 9th, 10th round.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head where he's going, but
yeah,
he's definitely being drafted.
Yeah, he's going to be a drafted player. He's a guy that if you're just looking at depth for receiver, he's going to be a good guy. Personally, I was pretty high on Moncrief last year.
Is there like a faster set of receivers in the whole NFL between Hilton, Moncrief, and Philip Dorsett? They're all just
speedsters.
They're all 4.4 guys.
Oh yeah. Philip Dorsett, though, I really think it's a make it or break it year for him. I think the Colts are really going to want to feed him the ball this year to try to see if he's got the stuff to make it at the pro level. So we'll see what happens there. But that's all I got.
All right. Who's next?
All right, another fantasy hotbed here. We got the Houston Texans. These guys, talk about a team shrouded in mystery because of all the new free agent acquisitions, but a team that could potentially just, shit. I could see them going deep in the playoffs for the AFC if everything pans out for them.
Really? Like deep in there?
I think so. Deep in that pussy. All right, so let's start out with the obvious, guy, DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, he's a guy, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he's going to catch an assortment of balls all over the field.
Just let this be a disclaimer. If you can put up numbers with Brian Hoyer as your quarterback, then you can do it with anybody.
Tom Savage.
Oh, man. I think his production is going to depend on Osweiler a little bit, but yeah, he's got the stuff to make it or break it with or without him.
I think Osweiler is a good enough quarterback to get him the ball.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe the Houston gave him a little too much money, but
they're desperate, man.
Yeah, but you know what? No question though. Being a Denver Broncos fan, he broke my heart. He left, but. He's a guy that I'm pretty high on going into next year. I think you can get him at a pretty good value at quarterback next year. He's a guy that I think he's a big question mark. We don't know what we're going to see. In fact, even last year with Denver, we kind of got to see flashes, but I don't know if he's going to put it all together. What do you see coming from Osweiler this year, Johnny?
I really don't think he's going to have to do like a whole lot for that team. That team's built around their defense, and obviously it looks like they're going to want to run the ball since they signed Lamar Miller. They got their main target, DeAndre Hopkins. And if he could stay healthy, Cecil Shorts, but I'm not counting on that. But I think that he's going to be more of a game manager, that he's going to try to manage his way to like 10 victories.
Now, a guy I have is a potential sleeper next year, and this is a deep, deep coma sleeper. But it's just a feeling I have.
Where you're going with this?
Oh, I think you know where I'm going with this too. As an ASU fan, I'm looking at my boy Jalen Strong. I'm thinking, and this is only if he can jump Cecil Shorts.
You think he can finally break into the lineup?
That's all I'm saying is if he can beat out Cecil Shorts for that number 2 spot, I think
he's another big target.
He's a big target. Jalen Mary, that guy he's a guy that can really do it all, and I think if he can break that lineup next year, I would look at him. But that comes with a huge disclaimer. I am not by any means saying to go out and target him at all. I'm saying
keep him on your scout team, scouting list.
Keep him on your scouting list. Keep him on your short list of guys that you're thinking about bringing in. Deep coma sleeper.
But if you're in a dynasty league and you don't have him, he's definitely a buy.
That's true. That is true. Do you want to touch on Lamar Miller at all?
Well, I think he's a do-it-all. He hasn't really proven that he can handle 20 carries a game, but he seems to have that body structure and that kind of mentality. He keeps begging for the ball. He was always being criminally underused in Miami. I think that he can easily be a top 10 running back. He was a top 5 running back last year, and he was hardly getting the ball.
Yeah, that's true. He had some huge games last year. remember when we pulled off that Olsen and Miller trade last year. He was getting me quite a few points. Unfortunately, we both traded players that were regressing at the end of the season,
It didn't really pan out.
Didn't pan out for either of us, but hell, who the hell knows? That's the mystery of fantasy football. Miller's a guy I think that he's going to come in this year. He's going to be utilized to his full potential, or at least close to his full potential. I see him. He's a do-it-all. You said it. I can't really say any more than that, Johnny.
He's definitely a hot target in the second round, especially if you can get him in the second round. And he's most likely going to finish as a RB1 and maybe even in the top 5, top 3. Who knows? The sky's the limit with Lamar Miller.
Yeah.
Especially the Texans, they like to do a lot of those dump-offs, especially when having Osweiler as their quarterback. They're probably going to do a lot of dump-offs and screens. And that's just the type of team that they run.
Yeah, I think that Miller. I honestly really like the fit.
Think about Arian Foster like 4 or 5 years ago,
and that's Lamar Miller.
Maybe. Ooh,
Hell, I think he has the potential to be even better than Arian Foster 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it really all just depends on how they're going to use him. There's really nothing else to speak of from them. They ain't got a tight end to speak of.
Yeah, we're really barren there. All right, so the last team on our list to wrap up our AFC show. The Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about their newest acquisition, DeMarco Murray. Last year, a guy that was, just underutilized. And, to be honest, though, he really didn't run with a purpose when he was getting the ball. So, what's your take on that, Johnny?
Well, their offensive line is shit, so I really don't expect him to have a great yards per carry. I'm just really not that high on DeMarco Murray this year.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
Their line isn't that good. They're not a very good team to begin with, so they'll be down a lot in a lot of games. So we'll have to end up throwing the ball. So I'm not a big fan of DeMarco Murray again this year.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think you actually just said it perfectly. I think the biggest reason why I'm staying away from him is because they're going to be playing from behind in a lot of games. And we all know what happens if we have a running back on a team that's getting blown out. It's just not pretty. So
it kind of just looked like he had no heart last year. Like he was getting barely touched and just falling to the ground last year.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't really fighting for those extra yards like he was in Dallas. He had the benefit of the best offensive line in football. But then, the thing that really sealed it for me on him was when he went bitching to the Eagles owner about
you never go straight to the owner like that.
Yeah, that's just you're just asking for it at that point. So that's all I'm really going to say about him.
The one good thing he has going for him though is the Titans really love their tight ends. They said they'll run them out of the I form with 2 tight end sets and et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. That's about all he has going for him.
Yeah, one of my biggest sleepers to watch is on this team. Darrell Green Beckham. He's a guy that I think you're going to get for insane value. I think we're looking at a potential breakout year with a quarterback like Marcus Mariota throwing on the ball. Keep your eye on this guy. Like I said, he might come with some risk. He could be a boom or bust guy. Who knows at this point, but my gut feeling is that he's going to have a solid year this year.
Yeah, he's another guy. If he can just figure it all out, I think he could be really dominant. He's 6'5", 200
Oh, yeah, he's got that size. He's got the speed.
It looks like he could be a really good red zone target for that team, which they really need. Kendall Wright seems like more of a slot guy. Justin Hunter's a piece of shit.
Delaney
Walker gets a lot of catches, but he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns.
That's true. You know who I equate Green Beckham most to? I think I'm thinking back when the name escapes me. No, Anquan Bolden back when he was with the Cardinals. I think he's a guy that reminds me a lot of Anquan Bolden.
Well, he could either be an Antoine Bolden or a David Boston.
That's true. You could either really go either way on that one. And then, what do you think about Marcus Mariota as far as our big quarterback list? Where do you see him finishing?
Well, it does look like he has a nice little schedule working in his favor. They are going to be down a lot. The only thing I have wrong with him is he is a scrambling quarterback, which he got hurt last year. He could get hurt again because of his body structure. But barring, if I'm predicting him as a healthy young athlete, I got him ranked right now as my 20th quarterback.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe a little low for him, but I mean, there are a lot of guys that I would take over him too.
Well, I got him ranked at 20, but there are some guys that he could easily finish above. He could finish above Cousins. I have Cousins ahead of him: Winston, Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Stafford. He could finish above all those guys. So,
got an over/under question for you. Over/under 5 rushing touchdowns for Mariota.
I'm gonna go with the under on that one.
Really,
just because of the team he plays for, they're not gonna get a whole lot of red zone opportunities.
I'm going to say over, but just barely. I don't say it exceeds 10. I definitely don't say it exceeds 10, but I think he'll have over 5 rushing touchdowns next season. And then Delaney Walker, he's really the last noteworthy player we can really talk about from that team.
I love Delaney Walker.
Yeah, where do you see him going in the draft?
Way too late. I'm talking maybe 7th round.
Yeah, that's excellent value for him.
In our PPR league, he finished as the second best tight end last year.
Yeah, he was killing at the end of the season last year.
And it really has mostly to do with that he led the league in receptions for tight ends. He still got 6 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm looking at for extremely good value next year.
He's a tight end that a lot of people overlook. I love him. Actually, he's my tight end target next year.
Yeah, I think him and Ladarius Green are the guys that I'm really looking at next year for tight ends, for value tight ends. If I'm not grabbing Gronk in the first round, I'm looking at them in the 7th round. Maybe Ladarius Green a little sooner.
Really for me, Walker, he's that cutoff mark that I have. If I can't get my Gronk, Reed, Olsen, or Walker, or Eifert, then I'm just going to wait as late as possible to grab my tight end.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm just going to consider it a lost cause at that point. Yeah, there's a lot to like about him. But I think that's, that pretty much wraps up our AFC list.
Nope. It's just weird because it seems like someone definitely touched my drum set.
Yeah, it is weird. Because I didn't touch him.
Hey! Did you touch my drum set? Hey, knock it off! I know you touched my drumstick. Because the left one has a chip in it. You're fucking crazy, man.
You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
Fuck you, Brennan. I know you touched my drum set, and I want to hear that dirty little mouth admit it.
Get out of my face, or I'm gonna roundhouse your ass.
You swear on your mom's life that you didn't touch it then.
I don't have to swear to shit.
That's because you fucking touched my drum set. Because I know cops doesn't start till 4. Where are you going?
I'm going upstairs. Because I'm gonna put my nutsack on your drum set. Okay?
You do that, I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
So, K-Mill, do you have any last words before we end this show?
Yeah, I do actually. In the words of the great Lil Wayne, safe sex is great sex. You better wear latex because you don't want that late text. That's all I got for you guys. Make sure you check out our podcast, Fifth Down. We really hope to hear from you guys, get some more of you guys in our audience. Thanks for everything. K-Mill signing off.
Our app should be up and running by the end of this week, so check that out. It'll be called The Fifth Down. You can get it through Spreaker.com. That's about it. Look out for us in the next couple of days. We'll have the NFC show, which will be just as interesting as this one. If you had a good time, then come check us out.
Oh, and also feel free to send us a message too. Any questions you might have, we'll answer on our next show.
You can either give us an email at thefifthdownfantasyfootball@gmail.com, or you can comment directly on our website, www.the/fifth/down.com. Feel free to hit us up, and until next time, this is goodbye.